What if I told you that one of America's most beloved car companies was actually designed to destroy itself from the inside? Picture this: a multi-billion dollar experiment where the parent company creates a rebel child, gives it freedom to break every rule in the playbook, watches it succeed beyond imagination, and then systematically dismantles everything that made it special. This isn't corporate fiction. This is the Saturn story. A tale of plastic-bodied cars, no-haggle pricing, and tens of thousands of owners who loved their vehicles so much they drove cross-country just to visit the factory. For 20 years, Saturn burned bright like its namesake rocket, carrying Detroit's hope of beating Japan at the small car game. But internal politics, rebadging disasters, and one brutal economic crisis would extinguish that flame forever. This is how a brand went from revolutionary to roadkill. In the early 1980s, American automakers faced an existential crisis. Japanese imports flooded parking lots across the nation with compact, fuel-sipping machines that simply refused to break down. More devastating than lost sales was the erosion of something Detroit had taken for granted: trust. Buyers no longer believed American small cars could match the quality and reliability of their foreign competitors. General Motors felt the pressure more acutely than anyone. They weren't just losing market share. They were watching customer loyalty evaporate in real time. The situation demanded more than incremental improvements or minor tweaks to existing models. It called for something audacious. Enter Alex C., mayor in a radical concept that emerged at GM's highest levels. Don't just build a better small car, build an entirely new company to make it. In November 1983, the first prototype appeared, initially slated to wear a Chevrolet or Buick badge. But GM's leadership recognized a critical truth: slapping a GM badge on this vehicle would doom it immediately. Customers had already written off GM small cars as inferior. So in 1985, something unprecedented happened. Saturn was born as a separate subsidiary, operating with remarkable independence from its corporate parent. The name itself carried symbolism that wasn't subtle. The Saturn rocket had propelled Americans to the moon, creating a moment that captivated the world. If that rocket helped America surpass the Soviet Union in space, then Saturn cars would help America leapfrog Japan in automotive engineering. Saturn's blueprint read like a manifesto: complete autonomy with dedicated factories and an independent dealer network, not sharing resources with other GM brands. Revolutionary technology, including a space frame structure and dent-resistant plastic body panels that could withstand the punishment of daily driving. Most critically, Saturn negotiated a separate labor agreement with the UAW, experimenting with flexible work rules, profit sharing, and a collaborative culture that replaced the traditional adversarial relationship between management and unions. But ambition comes with a price tag. Saturn consumed billions in investment, and from day one, it created tension within GM. The new brand wasn't just competing with Toyota and Honda. It threatened to cannibalize sales from Chevrolet and Pontiac. Here's a question worth considering: is it genius for a corporation to create an internal competitor, or is it corporate suicide? The Saturn experiment would eventually answer that question. In 1986, construction began on Saturn's factory in Spring Hill, Tennessee. The $1.9 billion investment signaled GM's serious commitment to this gamble. By 1988, the facility opened with approximately 3,000 workers tasked with building Japanese quality cars with American character. Saturn understood something profound. They weren't just selling transportation, they were selling a story. Marketing centered on images of workers, assembly lines, and pride in craftsmanship. This community-focused approach reached its peak in 1994 when tens of thousands of owners made pilgrimages back to Spring Hill for a homecoming event, treating the factory like a destination worth celebrating. The sales experience broke American automotive conventions too. Saturn introduced no-haggle pricing, with the sticker price being the final price. No negotiations, no psychological warfare. Dealerships transformed from battlegrounds into retail spaces where customers felt respected throughout the process. Combined with genuinely friendly service, This approach created something rare: organic trust between brand and buyer. Then came Saturn's most visible innovation: heat-resistant thermoplastic body panels. The advertising practically wrote itself. Show someone slapping a car door, watch the surface refuse to dent, and let viewers draw their own conclusions. While Saturn kept roofs and hoods in traditional steel, those flexible panels turned ordinary small cars into symbols of practical intelligence. Perfect for crowded parking lots, resistant to door dings, and unmistakably different at first glance. On July 30th, 1990, the first Saturn rolled off the assembly line, the S-Series. Behind its straightforward name lay carefully calculated engineering aimed precisely at everyday drivers' needs. The heart of the S-Series was a 1.9-liter four-cylinder engine designed specifically for Saturn, a declaration that this brand demanded its own technical identity. Saturn divided the S-Series into distinct trim levels. The SL and SL1 typically featured single overhead cam engines, prioritizing durability and fuel economy. The SL2 and SC2 coupe variants used dual overhead cam configurations for more power, paired with equipment considered premium for the era: power windows, body-colored exterior trim, and a more complete ownership experience. But the base model SL became legendary for different reasons: manual transmission, minimal power steering in some years, simple cloth seats, and certain versions even lacked passenger side mirrors. It embodied a minimalism that seems almost unthinkable today. Options included hand crank windows, a simplicity that reminded buyers of economy cars like the Chevrolet Chevette. Yet with Saturn, austerity meant something different. They eliminated non-essentials to focus resources on core values: durability, livability, and reliability that kept repair visits rare. The S-Series expanded beyond sedans. Saturn launched the SC Coupe line with distinctive personality, especially the early models sporting pop-up headlights that gave them sporty character after dark. Initially, coupes often came with a dual overhead cam engine, signaling these were versions for drivers who wanted engagement beyond mere transportation. By 1993, Saturn added the SC1 with fixed headlights, offering coupe styling without the higher spec setup, easier to maintain and more practical. That same year, the SW1 and SW2 wagons debuted, perfectly timed for American families needing cargo space in compact packages for commuting and errands. The wagons shared body panels with the sedan from the rear doors upward, a cost-saving measure that kept prices competitive while adding genuine utility. Intriguingly, Saturn even touched the future. From 1996 to 1999, Saturn participated in distributing the GM-EV1 in select markets, an early electric vehicle milestone. While this didn't transform Saturn into an EV brand, it reinforced the perception that this nameplate stood adjacent to experimental territory, close to concepts GM hesitated to attach to traditional badges. The second generation, spanning 1996 to 1999, brought exterior refreshes to maintain appeal while keeping interior elements familiar. 1999 proved memorable. Saturn introduced a coupe with a third door in suicide door configuration, simultaneously convenient and distinctive, like a nod to buyers wanting unusual practicality. That year also marked Saturn producing its 2 millionth vehicle, proof that for nearly a decade, the brand thrived on customer trust, not just GM's financial backing. The third generation, 2000 to 2002, represented the final facelift. Saturn replaced lower plastic body cladding below the character line with cleaner, more streamlined door panels and lower sides. Front lighting featured amber turn signals, while the trunk lid received redesigned trim. For the SC Coupe, changes concentrated at both ends. The front bumper became more seamless with reshaped intake openings and integrated fog light areas, while new headlamp assemblies altered both shape and fender integration. The rear bumper and tail lamp assemblies received complete redesigns, matching the new styling. Front fenders and doors were revised so the character line flowed directly toward the fog light area. Quick question: has anyone here driven a car with hand crank windows and no passenger mirror? Automobiles were genuinely Spartan back then. As the S-Series era concluded, GM began reeling Saturn back into the corporate orbit. Shared platforms, shared factories, shared components. On spreadsheets, it looked like efficiency. To customers, it felt like losing what made Saturn special. The first symptom of this decline arrived as the L-Series. This marked Saturn's first clear platform sharing arrangement, using GM architecture with ties to European designs. More significantly, production moved from Spring Hill to Wilmington, Delaware. That hometown change resonated emotionally with the Saturn community. The factory that symbolized differentiation suddenly became optional. Even naming proved clumsy. Saturn planned to use LS designation, but switched to L200, L300, and similar variants to avoid trademark conflicts. The L series never generated the attachment of its predecessor. It wasn't affordable enough to be purely practical, not distinctive enough to inspire affection, and quality complaints plagued it. Major recall campaigns targeting rear tail lamp assemblies became emblematic. When brake lights stayed continuously illuminated, heat buildup to form plastic components, causing contact points to fail or create intermittent connections. Nearly 300,000 vehicles were recalled before production ended in 2005. Simultaneously, Saturn pursued what seemed an escape route: SUVs. The Saturn VUE appeared as Americans rushed toward higher-riding vehicles. The VUE attempted preserving Saturn's spirit with plastic body panels in some configurations, but platform and structure now came from GM's Theta family, also underpinning the Chevrolet Equinox and other internal vehicles. Then came the biggest transition, the Saturn Ion in 2003, replacing the S-Series. Strategically, this represented a make-or-break decision. The S-Series was beloved but aging, requiring a new generation to remain competitive. The problem? The Ion arrived when Saturn no longer enjoyed the autonomy it once had. Platform and technical solutions were shared with GM's mainstream offerings, prompting longtime fans to ask, what is Saturn now? Still, the Ion offered interesting features. The quad-coupe version looked like a two-door, but hid four doors. Two conventional front doors, plus two small rear clamshell doors hinged at the back. Opening rear doors required opening front doors first, creating clamshell-style access. Eliminating the B-pillar made rear seat entry surprisingly spacious, especially in tight parking situations. This design served practicality too. The front passenger seat back folded flat for long cargo, making the coupe genuinely versatile. Inside, the instrument cluster sat center-mounted atop the dashboard, very Saturn, kind of different. Saturn also launched an enthusiast offering, the Ion Redline, equipped with the supercharged engine from the Cobalt SS. It achieved a speed record at Bonneville Salt Flats around 213 miles per hour. But ironically, most regular Ions weren't loved like the S-Series. Buyers who chose Saturn for rugged simplicity felt the Ion lacked that familiar, solid character, while those seeking something different found the Ion increasingly resembled a generic GM product. 2004 often marks the point where Saturn's original playbook got shredded. Generous exceptions in labor organization and Spring Hill operations disappeared. The separate UAW agreement that once allowed startup-like flexibility was pulled back into GM's traditional framework. The vehicle that epitomized Saturn's GM-ification wasn't a sedan or coupe, but a minivan, the Saturn Relay. The Relay filled the family vehicle gap with three-row seating and sliding doors aimed at buyers, prioritizing people hauling over personality. But it was virtually a twin to the Chevrolet Uplander, sharing DNA with the Pontiac Montana SV6 and Buick Terrazzo, making its rebadged origins painfully obvious. Despite year-to-year improvements like standard Stabilitrack electronic stability control on 2007 models, the Relay couldn't give customers reasons to choose it over a Chevrolet with far denser dealer networks. The Relay died after 2007. Following the Relay, GM attempted polishing Saturn with better-looking, market-appropriate products in 2007. But this also became the clearest rebadging era. First came the Saturn Sky, a two-seat roadster with soft top and low-slung stance designed for showroom drama. Based on GM's Kappa platform, the Redline version featured a turbocharged 2.0-liter engine, genuinely emotional in a lineup that had lean practical. The Sky proved Saturn could be beautiful and collectible, but its beauty raised uncomfortable questions. Beyond badging and sales approach, how did it differ from the Pontiac Solstice? Parallel to the Sky, Saturn introduced the Aura to replace the L Series in the midsize sedan segment. The Aura followed a refined, European-influenced formula with planted proportions and a cabin aimed at maturity beyond old Saturn standards. Built on GM's Epsilon platform, it offered multiple engine configurations, with the XR variant standing out via a 3.6-liter V6, making approximately 252 horsepower and 251 lb-ft of torque paired with 6-speed automatic transmission. Numbers making the Aura a quietly quick Saturn. The Aura won North American Car of the Year 2007, a validation medal for this product refresh era. Saturn then entered the three-row crossover segment with the Outlook. This substantial vehicle measured about 200.7 inches long with a 118.9-inch wheelbase, seating 7 to 8 on GM's Lambda platform shared with GMC Acadia, Buick Enclave, and later Chevrolet Traverse. The Outlook met mid-2000s American needs. Families wanted higher ride heights and greater carrying capacity with car-like driving dynamics rather than body-on-frame SUV handling. Saturn positioned the Outlook's pricing below its more upscale Lambda siblings, maintaining an image of solid value. Next came the second-generation Saturn VUE, the clearest step toward Europeanization. It was the Saturn-badged Opel Inthara, assembled in Ramos Arizpe, Mexico. Styling softened with large chrome grilles, teardrop headlights, and roof lines sweeping rearward. Modern and perfectly aligned with contemporary crossover tastes. The VUE Gen 2 offered multiple configurations: 2.4-liter inline-4, 3.5-liter V6, 3.6-liter V6, and even a green line hybrid. V6 models returned to traditional hydraulic power steering instead of earlier electric assist. But increased globalization pulled the VUE further from memories of plastic body panels and Spring Hill heritage. Finally arrived the Astra in 2008, a true captive import from Europe, an Opel Astra built in Antwerp, Belgium. The Astra came as 3-door or 5-door hatchback using a 1.8-liter engine producing approximately 138 horsepower, with assembled in Belgium mentioned like a European character stamp. The problem? European quality couldn't overcome Saturn's deteriorating reputation, shut down rumors, and piled up inventory of older models. When trust wavers, even excellent hatchbacks become difficult to sell. Interesting observation. Many consider the Saturn Sky the brand's most beautiful car. But if you could collect one Saturn, would you choose the early S-Series for durability or the late Sky for aesthetics? When economic crisis swept American showrooms, Saturn wasn't alone. All of Detroit trembled. Fuel prices, tightened credit, plummeting demand, and financial collapse turned gradual reform plans into unaffordable luxuries. For GM, this transcended profit and loss calculations per model. This was corporate survival. Saturn entered this purge with fatal weakness. It was no longer the Saturn of its founding. If Saturn had maintained its image as a genuinely different company, GM might have preserved it as an innovation symbol. But once the brand dissolved into rebadging strategies, Saturn became merely a name on a grill, not substantial enough for emotional salvation. On December 2nd, 2008, GM announced plans to sell or shut down Saturn, Pontiac, Hummer, and Saab. It was a suspended sentence, making everything below it immediately unstable. Saturn dealers sold cars with countdown mentality. Customers entered showrooms with dual worries. Buy today. Will the brand exist tomorrow? Will parts, warranty coverage, and resale value survive? A glimmer of hope appeared. Penske Automotive Group. The concept sounded appealing. Saturn could be sold, continuing under new ownership while maintaining dealer networks and built community. But car brands can't survive on dealership signs alone. They need production bloodstreams. factories, platforms, new vehicle supplies for years ahead. The Penske sale plan collapsed September 30th, 2009, when they couldn't secure a manufacturing partner guaranteeing long-term vehicle supply. After the deal fell through, the outcome became inevitable. Showrooms went dark. Dealers converted or closed. In 2010, Saturn officially ceased operations. Saturn left behind an unforgettable paradox. Its first decade wasn't a conventional failure. The S-Series sold well, built genuine community, and most importantly, built trust, something Detroit was hemorrhaging at the time. Saturn proved GM could build competitive small cars, create respectful dealership systems, and transform a plant like Spring Hill into pilgrimage destinations. But the second decade told the opposite story. When Saturn was absorbed into cost-cutting cycles, sharing platforms and swapping badges, it lost the only thing making customers choose Saturn over Chevrolet or Pontiac: identity. By the 2008 crisis, Saturn lacked sufficient reason to exist worth saving. Even without GM's bankruptcy, brand consolidation would have been nearly unavoidable, and a name dissolved into its parent corporation is typically first to go. If you enjoyed this story, please like and subscribe. And if you own an American or Japanese car from the 1980 to 2000 period, leave a comment about which car, which model year, and your memories with it. Maybe the next video will feature a story straight from your own garage. See you next time.